The Mayo Experience.
That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. That Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, presented by DraftKings 2022 WGC Dell Match Play DraftKings picks and preview. Reminder to all of you out there to smash the like button for the episode. In the comment section, give me your favorite low-priced player to round out your DraftKings teams with this week for the match play, and a reminder to sub to Mayo Media Network, sub to the newsletter, and play in the DraftKings Listeners League. That link is available right now in the description of this video, of this podcast. $15 to play, 3 max entry, no rake, thus, as you know, making it the best tournament on DraftKings. Let's fill that so we get our goal of 6,667 spots for $100,000 of guaranteed money at Augusta National, which is coming up in 2 short weeks. People, get ready for the Masters. Yes, it's absolutely coming. There is one name that will not be at the Masters, as it turns out. Skylar Hoke, host of the DP World Tour Picks and Bet Show on Mayo Media Network, is on the line. Looks like Phil isn't going to Augusta, Sky. This is stunning to me. I thought if there was one place he would go, it would be Augusta. Now, do you think this is him not wanting to play, or do you think this is them, either Augusta or the PGA Tour, working in conjunction saying, yeah, Phil, why don't you sit this one out?
I couldn't imagine Phil saying no to Augusta. So there's definitely something in the works, whether that was Augusta not wanting him to field those questions, in Butler Cabin, having those interviews, or PGA Tour said, hey, we're not ready yet. I mean, Masters is quickly approaching, but also PGA Championship too, where it's defending champion. So you would have thought he would have played here to get into that, unless there's just a massive looming suspension that's already happened.
It's starting to feel a little bit like when DJ mysteriously disappeared from golf for 6 months once. Yep, exactly. And I thought maybe Bryson was suspended or something too, and now here he is teeing it up this week. Yeah, I don't think Bryson ever was, because he kept being registered in the tournaments and then withdrawing like 2 days before because he was still too injured. I think he legitimately is hurt, or was hurt, I guess.
Yeah. He posts everything on social media, so he's been swinging it for a little bit, but maybe 100%. I mean, I'm excited to see him back, but it felt like something was fishy there. But no, Phil out of the Masters completely did surprise me.
So Jeff and I will probably talk about this more on next week's show for the Valero, because obviously we've already recorded our bet show that's already out on the pod feed and Mayo Media Network. Remember to rate it 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you're a good person, if you're a shit person, then you're not going to do it. So think about that. If you've never done it, you're a shit person, okay? You've done it, you're a great person. Many people say you're the greatest. I would be one of those people. Who would agree with that? Additionally, we do have a bracket challenge going on. We're doing it with our friends at fanteam.com. If you hit the description, you can join their link to play. It's on pgatour.com. You can get their password. They're giving away a bunch. It's free to join, but they're giving away a bunch of free tickets into their contest and everything like that. But if you want to go deposit right now on fanteam.com, remember to use code MMN. And if you play in a Corrales tournament that's $15 or more this week, you'll get a free ticket into their giant 20K guaranteed Masters DFS tournament. So you can free roll yourself into that by having some fun against soft competition at the Corrales. So fanteam.com, code MMN. You can find those links all down there and play in that bracket challenge. I've already filled out my bracket. You can find it down in the description. So I don't know, fade that and I guess you're good to go. The bracket is very important though, Sky, because of the strategy that goes into match play. And where we have this on DraftKings, we didn't always have it on DraftKings in the past, and they figured out a way to do it. And it's actually a lot of fun. I really enjoy playing Ryder Cup, President's Cup, match play. When anything is structured like this, I do think that there's an inherent advantage to those that understand the rules and concepts of what's going on. Now, is that going to guarantee that you're going to win? Absolutely not. But there is a way to build your team optimally this week to give you the most outs possible. Now, I think this can work one of 2 ways, and we'll talk through a few different strategies here. But do you want to lay it out for the people of what the best way to construct your DraftKings roster is this week?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's perfectly honestly why it's my favorite week of the year is, outside of the majors, I mean, we get decent contests here, but also the field just eliminates himself off the start. Because if we look at the bracket, basically you have to view it as regions. So 4 pods fill up the regions, and in order to maximize your potential, unlike a stroke play event, the more you advance, the more holes you get. So there is going to be 4 golfers that play the most holes of everybody. So not only though do you want to optimize your builds to get all 4 possible golfers in the final 4, if you truly want to hit the nuts, you got to back it up one more round, and you'd want to hit 6 out of 8 golfers in the Elite 8. Now, I think this is the 4th year we're running this on daily fantasy. We've yet to see anybody go 6 of 8 in the finals, and we'll talk about optimal versus what really might happen, but that would be the absolute perfect scenario if you can make all your golfers do that. So in order to build that way, first thing, of course, is you need 1 golfer in each of those 4 regions. And then if you need to continue on optimally, you need to have the 2 additional golfers, make sure they're in different regions, and you don't want them to be in the pod next to any of your golfers. So that would mean basically make sure your golfers cannot match up in the second round or the first round of the advancing out of pool play. That way, everybody can wait to the quarterfinals to match up, and hopefully, there's a 0.001% chance it seems like you can get 6 of 6 into the Elite 8, but that would be the dream scenario.
So the big thing this week, too, to make sure that you can construct your DraftKings lineups optimally, if you want to. You don't need to do it. We'll talk through that in a second. Because like Sky said, you have a 0.00, maybe even 0.01 chance of actually pulling this off. And no one's going to pull it off. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. But you do give yourself different paths and different outs in order to maximize the amount of points that your team is going to have. If you're going to win a GPP, spoiler, you're going to need the guy that fucking wins the tournament. You're going to probably need someone else in the final 4. Like having the winner and even the winner of like the 3rd place match is probably good enough. You don't necessarily need to have the guys in the finals, because the guys in the 3rd place match play as many holes as the guys in the finals. And frankly, although you get the finishing points, I think. Do you even get finishing points for this? Now I don't even know anymore.
Let me pull it up to make sure, because the year Molinari, so that would have been, I think the year Bubba won, Molinari was the highest scoring golfer without winning the tournament. So I'll pull the exact finishing position as we talk here. But yeah, there's basically, you just need the holes more than anything.
Yeah, because you get the points for the birdies, you get the points for the streaks, and if you win your match, you get points for winning the match, and you get like the dead money of the holes that are left over if someone wins like 6 and 5. There's a big advantage to your golfers for actually blowing out the competition. So theoretically, the way that you would want to play it out, if you could only have 2 of the 4 finalists, you'd almost want them playing each other in the semifinals, and then one wins and one wins the 3rd place game.
Yep, and confirm no finishing position on it.
Yeah, so that would actually be the most optimal way to do it. So that now you're really galaxy branding yourself. So there's different ways to go about this as we go through it. On fantasynational.com, if you go to the lineup generator, Moose has it worked out that you can build your lineups with 1 player from each quadrant at a minimum and then figure it out from there. So it's designed to make it as easy as possible to do these builds if you want them. So fantasynational.com/Mayo will get you 20% off. Fuck, get the monthly right now. You'll get this tournament and you'll get the Masters plus everything else surrounding it. So now's really the time to jump in. Don't wait to the Masters, because this is probably, although I think, Sky, that Fantasy National is a gift every week to help me do my research and help make things very streamlined for myself with research, with building lineups, everything like that. This one is probably the only generator out there for lineups that is going to do this for you.
Yeah, quick check. And that's why the field has gotten better, truthfully, is Fantasy National presetting it, and people that are providing content, across being able to build this. The first year this DFS contest was available, it was bad. The field, more than 50% of the field was, gone off the jump from having the best possible outcome. Now, not to say, again, somebody can't win without building that way, but it has increased every year, and Moose is doing the Lord's work, letting people just check a button.
Do you have the numbers from last year of people who built optimally?
Yep. So if I'm pulling up here, so I'm going to go step by step. So basically 78 0.87. So 79% of lineups had at least one golfer in every single region. So great starting spot right there. You have the ability to get the final four. But again, if you want to set yourself up, and I call those neighboring pods, basically quads of that. So if you want to build where you have 6 quads, and that would be 61.1% of lineups built that way last year. So basically, it is still nearing 40%, 50% of the field last year did not have the ability to go 6 out of 8 in the Elite 8. So you're seeing that even with the best year of content we had, there's still a huge edge.
The other thing that I was thinking, and I spoke about this on the research show just a little bit, was in cash games, how many golfers do you think you would need to advance to the quarter just out of their pods in order to win cash this week or double ups? Would it probably be 2?
Yeah, I would say 2, at most 3. I mean, if you get one of those golfers into the final day, again, getting 36 holes more than most people, I think that is definitely 2 is probably for sure cashing.
Would it be prudent then, if you're not playing to maximize your upside and to play optimally, if you're playing for a floor in this situation, would it then make more sense to take all 6 of your guys from one quad and just try to make sure that you get 2 guys out? Ideally, you'd get 3 by taking 2 from 3 separate pods, and then you can kind of try to advance your guys down the rung?
I think that's probably upside of amount of holes you get, but you are going to for sure guarantee yourself losses in the pool play.
You do, and you don't guarantee necessarily getting yourself out. The way that I was thinking about this, just looking at the bracket right now, because I think that the top right of the bracket is by far the strongest. So you can do with that with what you want. If you want to use like Morikawa and Sergio, Webb and Bubba, Xander and Herbert. Something like that, like those 6 guys. Okay. And then hopefully you can get Xander out. Hopefully one guy of your region of the 2, they win. You get 3 guys out. That's probably good enough to cash anyway. And then you would guarantee yourself at least one more play and one more win by moving on, because you would have guys actually playing each other. Now, I was just kind of thinking outside of the box on this one, as it's sort of the direct opposite of what we talked about of trying to win a GPP. But if you're trying to like win head-to-heads or a floor, fuck, man, even if you're just trying to cash in a single entry, I think that might be good enough.
Yeah. So I just pulled up so last year was chaos. If we remember, only one seed advance. So golfers, basically I had a tweet that was golfers alive for Sweet 16. So golfers advancing out of pool play. Only 13 people last year had 6 golfers that got through. Then it went up. So that's 0.02%. Then it was 194, went 5 of 6, 0.27%. And then it went 4 of 6 was 2.5%, 3 of 6, 11.5, 2 of 6, 27.5. So yes, to cash in double ups, I think 2 is plenty, because there was over 50% of the field last year that had 1 or 0 golfers advancing.
So even if you wanted to like really hammer down on that, take 3 guys from a pod and 3 guys from a different pod, and then basically, unless you just get upset, which we saw last year, is that random people ended up winning their pods. If that doesn't happen to you in your 2 pods that you line up next to each other, you get 2 guys that advance out, they'll play each other, then you have another guy that goes through. So you don't necessarily guarantee yourself a 2 of 6, but you have very good odds of getting a 2 of 6, and then you would most definitely have the winner of that matchup, if they're playing each other, to advance to the next round, and then see how far that guy can go. But even if they only get to that point, I still think that you would cash.
Yeah, it's honestly an interesting thought to just, and then you don't put it in GPP. I guess maybe you could min cash, but there's no way you're taking it down. But if you approach the right contests and people aren't building that way and you get chaos, it's probably a good scenario to double up.
Yeah, I don't think that it would be, obviously it wouldn't be good for the 150,000 person $5, $25. It wouldn't even be good in the Pat Mayo Experience Listeners League where there's 3,000 people in it. But like even in a $100 single entry with 222 people, I don't think that, obviously it's again, not the most optimal strategy, but I think it's viable.
Yeah. I've always attacked this week for the top prize, because there's not, in golf, there's just never any certainty of how to win it all, and basically this is the 1 week that you have 64 golfers in the field. There's only one way to build to hit the absolute nuts. So that's why I love it so much, is because there's a specific focus for that style, but you are making sense when it comes to these other contests.
Yeah, I was just trying to think a little bit outside the box, because I know that everyone, us included, are going to preach the same strategy because it's the proper strategy. This is really the only tournament all year long where you can actually get leverage on the field, because, and I shout out to Wiley and the Golflandia pod, because I was listening to that and they talk through, like, even with Baroff, they're talking through the different strategies of everything, and they make a lot of sense. Like, there's not a ton of leverage to say, even last week, like, hey, I'm going to fade Jason Kokrak because he's going to be chalky and use whoever the guy was below him. But those two things don't correlate like they do in other sports, where, hey, I'm going to fade this chalky pitcher and use the hitters on the other side. So if the pitcher fails, my batters are going to do really well. It doesn't work like that in golf. It does kind of work like that for this tournament.
Yep. 1,000,000%. And honestly, when we start getting into the golfers, my thought process is, as much as possible, I'm avoiding chalk, whether that means fade the pool or play the two lowest owned guys in that pod. My goal is to build 150 unique, optimally built lineups and, just really leverage myself against the field.
The difficult part of this week, I do think, is going to be who is going to be chalk and trying to figure that out. I think this is a much more difficult ownership projections week than most others.
For sure.
I mean, most weeks, look, it's not going to be a science. I mean, well, it is a science. It's just an inaccurate science. But when I kind of weight my numbers versus the Fantasy National numbers and make my projections, like if I list the top 10 guys who I think are going to be owned, like 7 of those 10 are going to be of the top 10 owned guys. Like, we know who the chalk is going to be. There's going to be outliers. Some guys are going to be a little bit higher. Some guys are going to be a little bit lower. But looking at it off the hop, I think you're going to see like Noren, Gooch, Lowry. I'm just trying to think of like who the popular upset picks are going to be down the board. Those guys are most definitely going to be chalk. And I've yet to figure out if Xander is going to be chalk or not, because he plays in the weak pod. I don't think he's going to be, because I think people are pissed off at him.
Yeah, I think if I'm working bottom up, I am looking for the groups with the least amount of equity of advancing out of their pod for the 1 seed, and then you're probably going to find the chalk. So Lowry fits that bill perfectly. Gooch fits that bill, because you're looking at Bryson and Brooks's pod. Who Bryson, we don't know what was going to happen there. Brooks being the last seed. Spieth's pod, I know you like Scott. I don't know if that means he's going to be chalk in that group. It's kind of equally split there, but Billy Horschel being a 1, people like Tom Hoagie, that's like where I am starting. And maybe if I'm going to pick 1 seeds, I debated not even like worrying about 1 seeds and just hope for chaos again. But if I pick 1 seeds, it might be the ones where everyone else is going to the next tier down.
I think that's probably the wise move this week. And I don't think that you need to completely fade the chalk. Like, Daniel Berger is going to be chalk this week. Absolutely 100% going. But I don't know what chalk means in a field like this. Does that mean he's 15% owned? Does that mean he's 35% owned? I think that's the difficult part for me to parse this week when it comes to filling out lineups. Because if the chalkiest guy is 17%, then I really don't care at that point.
So last year, the highest owned golfer was Rahm, but he was only 22%. Then if you keep going down, there was 7 other golfers between 15 and 18%. So, it's probably going to be more spread out than usual. Now that meant, because we only have 64 golfers to pick from, even the lower ends, you're not getting that many guys under 5%, but you can be strategic on how you build, and still play guys like Berger and pair him with somebody who's going to be, way under-owned.
So let's talk about the 10K golfers this week. Jon Rahm is the highest priced player. He is the number 1 seed. And frankly, looking at his grouping, he's in with Reed, Young, and Munoz. It seems like a pretty easy one to win. I've picked Cameron Young to win that group. I think he's going to be a popular sleeper. He'll probably be one of the chalkier guys down at the very bottom end. I don't dispute that. I do like him here if you're going to take him against the other 2 people to upset Rahm. And like you said, only one of the 1 seeds advanced last year. It's not like it can't happen. It's a head-to-head golf match at a course where almost every skill set is live. So when you see the Kisners, the Horschels, the Kuchers, the Norins all end up in the Final Four, that type of player, like that almost makes it's pretty egalitarian when it comes down to it. So Rahm being the most expensive might actually push his ownership way down because he's pricey to have to begin with. People aren't in love with him at the moment. And then there's sort of this chaos theory that we saw last year. So that might keep people away from Rahm for the first time in ages. Scheffler is the second highest owned. He lost in the final last year. JT, Morikawa, Hovland, Cantley, DJ. So the 3 that I had identified that I wanted to go to for me, and I don't know how I'm going to parse this out because I think if you start with one of these guys, obviously your build is dictated by the quadrants. Rahm, Thomas, Morikawa in reverse order. I like Morikawa, Thomas, then Rahm in that order.
Yeah, I'm with you on Rahm. And it's, again, if we get to the next layer of thinking, I love Cameron Young, the golfer, but he's definitely already super steamed up, from outright selections. His outright number is pretty long. So I think Rahm might be under-owned relative to that pod. So he would be my favorite there. JT seems like he has potentially the best draw of the bunch. In that pool 6. So he probably would be somebody, and it's not like I think if Kisner was anywhere else, he would probably be super chalk in there, but I would probably pass on Justin Thomas. I think Cantlay and DJ might have a little bit tougher of draws, but I think their win group equity is not all that much different than some of the top guys. So I would rather go, Rahm, I think DJ then Cantlay would be my top 3.
I'm looking at it right now when I was talking about overloading 2 of the pods, that the one to do it in might actually be that Thomas group and the Spieth group, because you can pretty much leave off Luke List. I don't think that he's going to win this group, and unless the putter finds magic and he plays great, I would be okay with leaving him off that list and using Thomas, Kisner, Leishman. And then the one below it, you would have, I'd probably leave Rose off just with the way that he's playing right now and use Spieth, Scott, and Keegan, and then try to get 2 guys through that way, because that bottom right, as opposed to the top right, it feels like it's by far the weakest of the bunch.
Yeah. When you're able to pretty much rule out a golfer, I think those are the best ones to attack. And when I build for 150, I try to have at minimum 1, if not 2 selections per pod, some 3 if I really can't separate it. And I do think that Spieth pod is pretty spread out from those guys, where you could feel pretty confident getting one of them through at a lower salary than many.
That would be the whole case. I think you can fit all of those guys into one lineup. So that, I would start to think about it that way. Is there anyone else above $10,000? Because it does feel like Gooch is going to be very popular, and then no one is going to use. That's the DJ group, right? That's the Bryson group. So you have... Yeah,
that's the Bryson group.
So the DJ group has Homa, Wolf, and Hughes. Early numbers indicate that Homa is going to be a very popular selection.
Yes.
So maybe DJ is the play. I don't love it, but he has won this tournament at this course before.
Yeah, that's the one that I like. Because people go at Homa, I can't play Matthew Wolf, I don't think, here. I struggle with him. Mac Hughes, probably not the worst because of what he can run with the putter.
I picked Mac Hughes to win this pod.
Okay.
He won his pod last year, I believe, in this tournament. And I think that he kind of, like, if you kind of do the Ben Raza skill set stack, when I start to look at the types of players that have played well at this tournament, who aren't the elite players, who are the shorter hitting type guys that advance through, like Mac Hughes is line in line with Kevin Kisner. You know what I mean?
Oh, I think the ability that he has to birdie, if it had to be one stat for me that I want out of anybody this week, I don't care how you do it, but if you get birdies, it's going to score you points and win holes, even if you give them back. So Mac Hughes definitely fits that bill. But yeah, I can rule out Wolf for me. So yeah, I think DJ would be my pick there. And people, you said it off the top too, like people aren't super happy with Jon Rahm right now. And it's because of the lack of the short game. So I think maybe if you can get people, and he was the only one that advanced from the 1 seeds last year. So yeah, that's probably my 1-2 up top there.
Okay. Yeah. So I like Morikawa the best, but he just happens to be situated in a tough pod to begin with, and he's in probably the most difficult region on paper, as all 4 of those pods outside of the Xander pod, I think are exceptionally good. So that's going to make it pretty difficult for me. But Morikawa, Thomas, Cantlay was the only one. Like, I'm good with writing off Hovland, although I know he's going to be the favorite to go through. I think Scheffler's going to be pretty popular based on what he's done recently, his pod, and the performance that he put up a year ago. Although he is super expensive. Like, I could talk myself into a lot of these guys, but I'm not going to play 150. I'll probably just play 50. So I need to be a bit more choosy here. And Cantlay was really the only one that stood out. But I think I can make a very viable case for the other 3 guys in the pod. Although when I talked to Feinberg about it, I do think that those 3 guys are all very close to each other, and Cantlay is a clear step up in talent. But, it's 3 singles matches. What does that even mean?
Yeah, that's why it's such an opportunity to be lower or weight yourself against the field, because even at its peak, I mean, it's a little bit of a juiced coin flip from some of these head-to-heads, and we've seen it happen. So that's why I'm just so willing to write off specific golfers that have higher ownership than they realistically should, because there's not a 2 or 3x chance that they're advancing out of that pool compared to other golfers.
$9,000 golfers. I picked Xander to win this tournament, and I have him beating Daniel Berger in the final. So you better believe at 98 and 96 that those 2 guys are going to be in my lineups regardless. Obviously, they won't be in every one of my lineups because I think that they're going to be pretty popular selections. They both come from both sides of the bracket, the top, the bottom. We're good to go there. I don't really have much ado about any of the other 9K guys. I could see them all advancing. Obviously, they're great players, but I think Bryson's going to be the ultimate leverage play. I just don't know if I can get there.
Oh, I'm doing it. I absolutely think he is the play, in just the sense of if you're showing up, okay? So think through that scenario of you have 54 holes, 72, you can play over 100 holes in the 5 days that it is. So he has to have the health in his head to get through there. And people are just going to be so scared to play him, and they're going to love playing Taylor Gooch. I mean, Gooch is great. I don't disagree. So I think him, and I think exactly if you go around the same theory of it, Brooks. I mean, you have Lowry, HV3, EVR is playing pretty decently. I think people are going to avoid playing Brooks. Brooks hasn't been the greatest here. I would think so. I just think that's another feather in the cap of people avoiding it. So those would be my 2 picks.
Yeah, Brooks is tough. It's a tough one to go through but although Lowry is going to be the one that everyone takes from that pod, yeah. I have EVR coming out of it. He won his grouping. I like it. He won his grouping last year, and he's just playing much better golf at the moment.
Agreed.
Than he was at this point last year. So, and we have seen a lot of repeat randos continuously win their pods at this event. There's something about this course, something about the format and structure of this event that certain guys are just good at it.
Yep. No, I agree. So I think, and we'll talk about them later, but yeah, EVR would be my second pick out of each pod. And that's what I'm trying to narrow it down to. I'm trying to go 1, 2 in each pod. And I didn't mention in strategy earlier, but don't be afraid to leave money on the table here either. Course. Again, that's another way to easily get unique with it all.
There's no showdown for this, right? There can't be.
I don't think there was last year, but I don't see why they couldn't. They do it for Ryder Cup. It's just straight up matches. But I do not remember it last year. No.
Well, if you need to get your showdown fix, I guarantee you there will be Corrales showdown.
Yes,
contest.
There we go.
Yeah, the prize pools for Corrales not looking so hot this week. That's why no one cares about it. Even the last, when I kept searching all day for odds on Corrales, they were just like, we'll get to them when we get to them. But this starts on a Wednesday morning, and then Corrales doesn't start till Thursday. So if you feel like you're dead already, just get back in on Corrales. You'll be good to go.
This is normally the weeks that I pitch hard for them to juice the DP World Tour contests, but it's been a tough scene over there too.
Well, you guys have already done your Qatar Masters show, you and Tom. That's up on Mayo Media Network right now. Highly recommend. Yep. Everyone go check it out. Did you pick my guy, the Polish Prince, Moronik, to win?
No, but guess who's coming back? Top 20 last week out of the Finnish Flash. Sami Välimäki, his first one in forever, and it's going to be really windy, and that's where he won in the past. He's still 200 to 1.
Wacky Välimäki? He's back?
back.
Oh,
yes,
in.
last week was first finish in forever. So put that one down.
You fill for a second while I go bet this. This is fantastic news.
Yeah, so on the DP World Tour, I'll just take the moment there. So we basically have this week is the last tournament until after the Masters. So it's been an odd season because these fields are not getting the strong guys. I mean, like Arnaus, Burmeister are the top two in the odds every single week. So it's been a weird time over there, but we have a decent presence this week. And then actually next week at the Valero, they invited all of the guys, or most of the guys so far, on the Masters who are in there qualified. So like Richard Bland, Minwoo Lee, Bob McIntyre all have exemptions so far into Valero. Not sure if they're going to invite Guido or not. It's been flushing some money down the toilet backing him.
I see Valimaki at 125 to 1 now. I think you guys got the word out.
Okay, so he's out there. Yeah, so I mean but that was the best finish since 2020. So I like the course correlation. Then I'm not going to miss him at the long numbers.
I will do that. I'm in 125 to 1 on Wacky Valimaki. The finish.
Perfect.
Flash. He's not the guy. No, Valimaki's like the big burly guy, right?
Yes, thick boy. Yep.
Karonen's the one who wears like the fedora on the course.
Yeah. That's Tapio Pulkkinen.
That's
close. Right. But yes, he wears the fedora, but Kokkonen wears a weird hat too.
Yeah, I mean, these guys could all be like third line right wingers on the Winnipeg Jets for all I know. With these, you don't see a ton of Finnish golfers out there. Valimaki's a good name though.
Yes. No, I'm excited for him.
Yeah, you remember that one. Yes, we're talking about golf brackets. However, did you know that March Madness is here? Yes, I'm guessing that you did. But still, it is here. As a reminder, not everyone can have a perfect bracket, obviously, but you can have the perfect set of balls this tournament with the sponsor of today's show, Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. They've just launched their Ultra Premium Collection to give you the total championship hygiene routine. After sweating out the games, make sure you lather up head to toe with this all-in-one skin and hair care kit to have your body and balls smelling Final Four fresh. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with our exclusive offer, which means you go to manscaped.com and use promo code MAYO, that's MAYO for you illiterates out there, for 20% off and free shipping. This is the Cinderella story you're not going to want to miss, and I have been using it. So let's say you are a 36-year-old, but people tell you all the time, you don't look a day over 33. That's what you could do right now with the Manscaped Ultra Premium Collection. Because when the clock winds down in March, be clutch. Avoid the upset with the Manscaped Ultra Premium Collection to keep everything under control. It's helped my confidence. As you can see, I don't lack that. And you know how bad my picks are, and I still have confidence. You can thank Manscaped's routines and skincare for all of that. I'm feeling good, despite the fact I look at my bank account and it's not going great. But manscaped.com can give you those savings. 20% off plus free shipping? That's pretty good. That's where I need to get my savings in because I'm losing enough money betting on golf at this point. Although the Final Four in March Madness might actually be doing pretty good for me. Either way, here's what you can get in the package. You get a premium deodorant, not for your balls, for your armpits, which you probably need. If you need some ball deodorant, you probably got a lot of problems. Dehydrating body moisturizer, body wash, 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. Jeff uses the 2-in-1. I use it as well. You could be doing that with Manscaped right now. And a free gift. Who doesn't love a free gift? You can get a 3-pack of lip balm that's made up with such ingredients as vitamin E. I bet you don't have enough vitamin E in your life. Peppermint and eucalyptus oil. Oh, that sounds nice. That's 4 products plus a gift inside. What a score. And these products are cruelty-free, everything like that. You can hop in the shower, then lather up your hair, dry off, then put on the Manscaped deodorant. Everything Manscaped, head to toe, process 1 to 4. You're going to be fine. You're going to be smelling good. So here it is. Get 20% off and free shipping with code MAYO at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code MAYO. M-A-Y-O. I'll spell it out for you because it's a tough one, I know. Make sure you call on Manscaped this tournament season or your bracket won't be the only thing that's busted. Back to the show. $8,000 range for the match play this week. And after I go double all my bets with Valimaki and everyone I bet to win the match play, that could be terrific news for me. But you got Spieth up here. No one's going to use him. $8,900. Billy Horschel won. Did he win this event last year? I would say yes, he did win this event last year. No one's going to use that guy either at $8,800. Then you have Fitz, Neiman, everyone on Zalatoris, everyone on Lowry. Sergio going to be very popular. Sungjae's at 82, and then you have Scott and Fleetwood, two guys that I picked to win their grouping, but I have to think about this in a different way than filling out a bracket or making outright bets. If we're talking about DraftKings, it's a different strategy. There's different pricing. Different guys need to be taken. So, yeah, you can have your convictions. Just know that your conviction is probably wrong most of the time when it comes down to this. If you can go like 4 of 16 with just like, if you just had one pick to make, you're doing way better than most people out there trying to make your pick. So you do have to embrace some of that variance a little bit, knowing that you're going to be wrong and help that dictate your picks. Is there like one lock that you like here? Because I'm starting to think that maybe I should just play Horschel. It's not like he's playing bad golf.
No, I do like Billy quite a bit, and he gets the 1 seed here, which again, it's so surprising, some of these world rankings of what it is compared to a year ago. But yeah, I think Horschel has a solid draw. As much as I love Minwoo Lee, first time here, maybe not the best course for what it would be. So then you're playing Peters as a 2 seed, and then Tommy Tables there, Hoagie the 3 seed. So I think Horschel's a great pick, and I'm with you on Fleetwood, just because again, people like Scheffler, people like Fitzy probably in that range. And if you've seen flashes out of Tommy for the first time in quite a while this spring, was ball striking it well over in Europe, and then came over. And again, front page of the leaderboard, the Players. And then last week he was decent too at the Valspar. So I think Tommy would be my second selection in there too.
Yeah, per the numbers that I ran at Fantasy National when I constructed the model, Zalatoris rates out 5th of all players.
Yep.
Lowry is 14th of all players. Adam Scott is 13th. I like Adam Scott a lot this week. I think that his draw, it's not easy, mind you, but I think that's one of the weaker brackets, the Spieth, Scott, Rose, Keegan type of bracket. But all this kind of just pushes Spieth to the wayside, doesn't it?
Yep. And that's, I would say he was the one I wanted to make sure we brought up before, where he just has that innate ability to find birdies. So, you match him up with, off the top, Justin Rose. You don't really love Keegan. Everyone was on last week. Maybe they're off again. He would probably be the 2 for me in that pod. So yeah, I think finding those leverage 1 seats, and Spieth fits that bill like Billy does too in this range.
So with the 7K guys, I think this is where we start using more of your strategy of fade the chalk, because I think it's really going to galvanize around certain players. And that would be the highest and second highest price guy of the $7,000 range. Everyone, actually the top, So we have, Russell Henley is $7,900. People be using Russell Henley. Abraham Answer's a 1 seed, and he's $7,900. People are going to use him. Noren, Homa, Gooch, various degrees of chalkhood this week. It's probably going to go Gooch, Homa, and Noren, because I think that everyone realized that everyone was on Noren and then pedaled back, and he becomes that guy that if you had just given everyone a chance to fill out their lineups the moment that the pricing came out, that Noren would be in like 45% of lineups. But by the time everyone thinks about it, consumes content, gets around to Wednesday morning, he'll be in like 13% of lineups.
Yep. I agree. And there's just not that much of a difference between the actual win, even though in our heads, it feels like a no-brainer. Like you see those, of course they're going to advance, but it's just such an opportunity to continue to get off and give yourself much higher GPP winning upside by playing. Like, when's the last time we talked about Finau? And he draws Xander, okay, not great, but he also draws Herbert and Kanaya in the bottom half. So there's definitely a huge difference, even up to Tony, in the little amount of form for him versus the other guys. I wish I had the stomach to play old Patty Reed here, but I don't think I can do it.
Yeah, Patty Reed, Finau project to be the 2 lowest owned of that top end. I like Leishman and Webb. That grouping, by and large, is just going to be criminally under-owned. Answer, Webb, Harmon, and Bubba, they're all pretty flat in terms of their pricing. But everyone just, I think that it's so hard to differentiate between those four guys of who you really think is going to win. All four of them come in, maybe except for Answer, under-owned.
Yeah, I actually like Webb a lot too. I was kind of hoping
I love Webb. Love Webb. We saw enough last week.
Yep, exactly. And same thing like Bryson. I know there was, the neck issues before the plays for the first time, misses a cut, comes out last week, shows life. He clearly knows he can get through 90 plus holes. So yeah, I think Webb's a fantastic play because you look at Answer. I mean, I think that's probably the lowest of any group, or right there on the lowest of win equity from the 1 seed. Clearly he's in the 7 case too. So yeah, Webb is an awesome play.
So it's funny because you mentioned Finau, because I'd probably take Herbert as my second guy in that grouping if I was going to try to pair anything up. Because I don't really want Kanaya. I just don't know enough about Kanaya and whether he's really on these guys' level or not. Although we have seen, didn't Victor Perez beat Bryson last year in advance out of the pod?
He was in the Final Four. So Perez
right.
was, and then the year Bjerregaard made it to the Final Four too, and he knocked out Tiger. So there's going to be some rando that gets through, on it. I mean, guys that I, love on the DP World Tour. We're going to see somebody do it.
Yeah, even the very first or second year, Bill Haas and my guy, Tani Hara, made the Final Four. So it can happen.
Ooh, I forgot Hidetto.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what happened to Tani Hara. He's off smoking cigs somewhere in a corner. But Kisner, Herman are down here. Reed, like you mentioned. I like Leishman and Webb. I like Connors.
Yep.
Seabez is a really difficult one for me because that entire grouping is just filled with players that I love, and that could get me away from some Berger chalk, although I have him going to the finals. I think by the numbers, is he number 1 in this field for me? Let's see here. No, Berger is actually 11. The number 1 player per my numbers over the past 36 is Justin Thomas with...
Makes sense, yeah.
With Russell Henley as number 2. Oh, fun times right there. Don't want to be don't want to be taking too much of that one. But Hattenberger, Siwoo, and Bez, any one of those guys could win that pot. Not a problem.
Yes. Yeah, I had such high hopes for Siwoo at the Players, but there's no reason to just write him off after he's had way more of a consistent season than people give him credit for. So I am for sure I would pick him over Seabez. But yeah, that pod's another situation where, I think with the Berger, we haven't talked. You said Henley's pod. I mean, we didn't even talk about the other 3 golfers in there. Is Neiman in the 7Ks too?
No, he's in the 8s.
Or is he in the 8s?
He's pretty expensive.
Did get the 8s.
Yeah, he's pretty expensive.
Oh, he's 86. Yeah.
But Henley is the play. I love Kevin Na in that group, and we'll get to him in the 6s. I know he's coming back from having the baby. He wasn't injured. This is honestly just looking at the past 2 years and the guys that do well here. I told it to Feinberg. Sony Open, Colonial, RSM, Wyndham. That's the place where all these guys play well.
Yeah, no, it's. I mean, the Pete Dye. I mean, Bubba probably, feels a little odd, but I mean, just the short course guys that can. It takes away doesn't necessarily take away the driving ability, but anybody can play well here.
Bubba's coming in at early numbers showing 5%.
Did he play? He didn't play last week, but he was really. Oh, he did play last week. Yeah, he was terrible.
He missed the cut. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, he should have hit that one amazing round with his putter at the Players, but again, it's just a plug your nose type of thing, and the ceiling is there. I mean, that was such a win. I think everybody was on Bubba from you guys that year when he blitzed everybody.
And he just couldn't miss that year either. Everything was rolling for Bubba. The irons, the putter, the driving. It really didn't matter. He was just winning.
Man, yeah. No, this event, I mean, just watching the different matchups, the different dynamics. I mean, I love this event so much.
Some of the courses that I pointed out are actually really good Jason Kokrak courses as well. I just wonder if he's counting Saudi money right now.
So this was odd. So last week, Axis came down to hang out in Florida, get down from Michigan. We went to the Valspar. Kokrak was so chatty on the golf course with Brooks, just jabbing it up. And I picture the opposite. So maybe he's out there, still pitching people.
Maybe he's like, I have won so much money the last 2 years. I don't give a fuck what happens anymore.
Nothing matters.
Yeah, this is great.
And Louis wanted nothing. Louis wouldn't even look at these guys as he just walked down the fairway.
I actually find it funny that was Brooks being chatty at the same time?
Yeah. Oh, they were just yucking it up. It was seriously like, I didn't think Brooks would even like pay attention to anybody. And he was just, him and Kokrak off the first tee were just gabbing.
Yeah. I don't know if I like Webb more as a $7,400 DraftKings play or as an 80-1 outright bet.
Man, I haven't even digested some of the odds. Did they make too many adjustments? Like, I know you guys, I watched some of the show right off the jump and the adjustments didn't have in. Has there been anybody that's been really priced differently yet?
Not really. A couple guys have slipped, but I mean, what I'm looking at right now, like you can find Rahm as the favorite at 14-1. Like if you wanted him, like yeah. I bet Morikawa at 25-1. I bet Xander at 28-1. So, I mean, and this will be like last week, and I'll go to like the boost bets, and it'll be like, oh, Xander Schauffele, we'll boost him up to 35 for you, and I'll be like, oh, okay, I'll cash out my 25, put the exact same amount down on the 35, and then I'll just lose my money, like I did with Brooks last week. I was like, oh, 33, good number, and then it's like, oh, here, you can have Brooks at 40. It's like, oh, even better, cash that one out, go bet on this one. Loser, always a loser.
I love that they're doing it. It makes so much sense, and it's just so appetizing.
It is like you can bet. Let's see. Here's a couple like the boosted ones that I'm seeing right now. You can boost Dustin to 12-1 to just make the final. You can boost Zalatoris 28-1 to just make the final. Now he's Andercursed this week, but he does rate out really well for. I actually like him in this format. We didn't even really talk about it that much. That doesn't this. Although when you go back and look at the people who have won, they're all really good putters, by and large, like historically in your mind. But wouldn't this format really help out the shit putter?
Well, because they're going to par you to death. So you have to at least you have a high floor because, I mean, he doesn't bogey very often, it feels like. So, yeah, I mean, you just have to run hot with a little bit of a putter. And not to say he can't. I mean, I love Willie Z. But yeah, you'd think somebody who there's two strategies. You just par them to death, you take advantage and they make mistakes, or you have to run up the birdies. So maybe those guys just don't have that innate birdie ability as much, but they should. And Zalatoris has probably got a great draw outside of Hovland. So he's a reason he's chalk.
Yeah, he can get through here. I don't want to say pretty easily because you have to beat Vic, and he's an underdog. Yeah. He has to beat the guy who's the favorite. But once he does that, I would, like, if I was to rank the 8 players as a part of his, like, pod, it would be Hovland, then Zalatoris. I'd have Zalatoris over Neiman in this format.
Yep, totally agree.
So, and listen, it's not a 35-foot putt. That's a problem for Will Zalatoris. It's a 3-foot putt, which he might get. I guess he might have. There's a reason. I had Na coming out of the top and Zalatoris coming out of the bottom, and I picked Na to pass Zalatoris because Kevin Na is going to be like, no, you need to putt that, sir.
Oh, 100%. DJ is probably still mad at him from last year.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it's almost like I'm surprised Poulter isn't getting more buzz. I know we're not there yet, but just being like a match play guy, there's something to, I assume like Kisner and Horschel are exactly the same way. Like they're going to ticky-tack you to death and just make you aggravated on the golf course by not giving you a gimme that the other person would give you. And that kind of thing that just makes people really frustrated. You ever play golf with someone who's frustrated? They don't play well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, little things. I mean, Feinberg posted that video of Keegan and Miguel Angel Jimenez. I mean, there are some really, really good moments and just little things that can drive people crazy. And if you don't have the attitude to get over with, then take advantage. And these guys do it on purpose for sure. Oh,
when I play head to head with Andercursed and there's like 5 holes left and he's beating me, I have to go into a little bit of needling here and there. I try to keep it pretty jovial and pretty friendly until like the match is on the line. And then I can basically just get him to bleed 8 strokes in 2 holes to me because he's like in his own head and he's freaking out. We have another friend like that too, who if he gets mad, and obviously these guys are pros and I'm comparing them to like the scrubs that I am and play with, but he's not a bad golfer until he gets rattled just a little bit. Then the quintuple bogeys start coming out and the broken clubs.
Yep. That's all you got to do. You know when to poke the bear.
Yeah. And it feels like Nam might have an inside track of how to do it. Like that's how he won his match with DJ last year.
Oh, 100%. Bob McIntyre almost lost his too. He made DJ putt. I think Bob was in for par and DJ had like a 12-footer for eagle and Bob made him putt it and DJ makes the eagle and then like blitzed him down the stretch and Bob had to advance in a playoff. But you see it both ways with golfers.
Yeah. Oh no, 100%. Yeah. You never know how it's going to work out, but yeah, Na seems annoying enough, and he's really slow. That can't help too. Like, do you think that because Jason Day won this one year too? Should we be targeting exclusively really slow players? Yeah, in the match play, and the other guy's just like, oh my fuck, man, just hurry up.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I think anything to get under the skin, I'm down for.
Okay. So Cameron Young, an even $7,000. I like him to advance. I really like his skill set for this course. I think this course in particular highlights, and this format, highlights everything he does well and really hides everything he doesn't do well. He's very good off the tee. He has enough length to make sure that he can access these par 5s and 2 with relatively little ease. If there is an accessible pin at a drivable par 4, he should be able to drive any of those. And that could be any one of like 5 par 4s, depending on where the tee box or wind is that day. Like, I never thought that 18 was drivable, but it turns out 18 is drivable if you cut off a corner and kind of go after it. Or he is so good from like 125 and in that on these short par 4s, he can just lay up. And he's a good putter. That's the thing. Normally, these guys are Luke List and they can't make a 5-foot putt. Cam Young can.
Mm-hmm. No, he's the best of the Korn Ferry guys that have came out. He is live in big field events. He is going to be great at Augusta. I like what he's been out so far this year. Really has earned it. Does that mean I'm going to be there to get out of pool play? He just seems like the trendy guy right at 7K, when I think Bassi Munoz in that could definitely get nuclear like he does on Thursdays.
We can see that. So maybe he just plays Patrick Reed on Thursday and uses up all those putts when he doesn't need them and then loses to Young and Rahm. Obviously, you have to go through John Rahm. That's tough. I don't know if Young ends up as chalky as maybe we think he's going to be, though.
Oh, I think totally over predicting it. So I don't want to put people off because he's definitely somebody I'm excited for this week. It just comes down to narrowing a player pool and if I really want to get over leveraged. But yeah, I just like him as a golfer.
$6,000 range. I like Hoagie. And so far, the numbers don't reflect people liking Hoagie all that much. Although, when I went and ran through the numbers, let me pull up old Hollywood Hoagie here. Per the numbers, Skylar, he ranks number 4 out of all players in this field for me.
Have you heard his other nickname before?
No, what is it? So,
Tommy Tables.
Yes. Yes.
So, the shotgun start. I love listening to those guys. They got some inside scoop that if he makes the cut, it's a straight beeline to the casino, and he loves the craps tables.
So what you're saying is that it's good for his wallet that they don't have a tournament at the Greenbrier anymore?
Yeah, 100%. And maybe it's even, I guess Austin's probably got to have something. So if anyone's around Friday night, if you want to throw some dice, look out for Tommy.
So I like Hoagie. Hot dice Hoagie. Kevin Na, I said I like coming out of that group. EVR, I like as a sleeper, and I like Mac Hughes. So I think that's good enough for like my base at the very bottom end. Fuck, I can play 2 of those guys, and then all of a sudden, like, very few people are going to play 2 6K guys this week. I'll tell you that much. And I think they're not that dissimilar from almost anyone else. Like, if you had to, I know that we'll run simulations on this, and it will give you, like, what would you say Rahm's actual, like, true odds are to advance from his pod? Is it over 50%? Because the odds will be over 50%. And I don't think it is.
Odds will be over. I don't think he's, I mean, he's a favorite of the group, but he's not, minus money. I would say 40%.
Yeah, I would probably even cap it lower than that when you still have 3 other guys. Now, yes, Reed's in there, but I mean, I think when you start to think about it in those sorts of ways, that it becomes a little bit easier to take more of these gambles at the bottom of the board.
That's the name of the game. I mean, so the one, I love what you said about Van Rooyen. I think he has been very sneaky in this forum recently. And you mentioned he came out of the pod. He would be somebody, when I'm thinking of betting, I know it makes sense to see the strength of the neighboring pods, but at some point you just take a shot at somebody who's going to advance, and then everything can fall into place because it's not going to go how we think. So if you get somebody out, he's great. And he was like last or one of the bottom ones on the odds board. So I'm a big fan of Van Rooyen. But if I'm going to keep going down, I mean, You liked Kevin Na. We think Henley could get popular. Mav McNeely feels like we're getting zero talk out of, and that pod's not all that strong.
I would bet you McNeely is higher owned than Kevin Na.
Okay, well then I would play Kevin Na because I agree with what you said.
Yeah, I got McNeely.
Yeah,
I got
6,200.
McNeely. I got McNeely right now. I mean, listen, we're doing this very early, but there's not a whole lot of time at the same time because it starts on Wednesday. I have McNeely as the highest owned guy of the sixes.
Okay, well then I'm very easily fading that. The one then I'm for sure going to be good on. So if we talked about the upside of what Bryson could do, we talk about the ownership of Gooch. Then we talk about the downside of what Bryson could do. We're bringing in the legend of 2021. If there was the best golfer out there, Tim's boy, Richard Bland. I'm ready for it. He should fit the course. I mean, just plotter, get it done. Played phenomenal all of last year. Had a little offseason surgery. Came back at a second already this year. He's in the field next week. I think Dick Bland can show some life.
Oh boy. I'm kind of if Tim hadn't already been telling me that he is going to win this pod, then I would feel much better about it. But I don't think that anyone wants to see that happen. I think I have, and listen, everyone's going to have their favorite guys from down in the sixes. I mean, Jeff picked Harold Varner III because HV3 gave him tickets to the tournament. So, of
course.
I mean, that's one angle that you can play. I don't think that Keegan is the most outrageous play at this tournament. Like, I like Connors. Like that Casey, Connors, Sergio, Keegan, that type of player has also had a lot of good history here in getting out of their group. They eventually... Their putter turns cold because they're them and they don't win, but they advance to the Elite Eight or something like that. And that's all you need out of Keegan Bradley. So Keegan kind of fits that. There's a couple other names down here. Like no one's going to use Wolf. I don't want to. No one wants to use Wolf. I get why no one's using him. Do you take a shot on him? I mean, Minwoo and Kanaya are kind of. I mean, if this was a link style course, maybe Minwoo. Kanaya, I have no idea. I would like Bland more than them. But what about Herbert? Herbert's good.
Yeah. He's played. He was at the Honda, was it when he was really strong, or one of those? The Arnold Palmer when he finished inside the top 10. Yeah, I like Herbert. That's a tough draw with Xander there, but if you rule out Kanaya, he probably wouldn't be my pick. I would still prefer Bland. I'm a little shocked. I know we just kind of ran by in the low 7Ks, but that. They priced Bob so high at 7,300. You had him coming out of the region, right? Or was that? Oh no, that was you picked Mackenzie Hughes. Do you like McIntyre at all?
I did until I saw who he was in with. Like that group is tough, and I don't know if Morikawa's just off right now or what's going on with him. But if you could tell me a player to design that would dominate this course, it's him.
For sure. Well, it should have been last week too. I would have thought last week was picture perfect for him.
See, I actually think Honda is the most perfect Colin Morikawa course on earth. Although he's never played it, which is kind of stunning to think about. But whenever huge distance isn't a factor, and it's not this week, this actually kind of reminds me a little bit of when they played the Workday. I like the easier version of Muirfield when they advanced the tees. It wasn't as long. You had a couple of those drivable par fours. Like no one is better on the planet at driving par fours than Colin Morikawa. He's the greatest at it.
Yep. I mean, that one at Harding Park, legendary.
Yeah, and JT is kind of the opposite. JT never tries to drive a par 4 and 1. He's just like, how about I put it to 110 yards and put it 2 feet from the pin?
Yep. No. So I would. Yeah, it just feels, and maybe that's, again, more eager to what match play can bring. And maybe it's a stress-free way for guys to find some form, feel a little bit better. It is what it is. But you have to hope to see something out of both him and Rahm that can show a little bit until we get to Augusta.
That's my one worry about Bryson, that he's only playing to get competitive reps in.
Yeah, it's probably, I mean, he has to before if he's playing it, obviously. So I just think if you're going to get him at 7%, that sounds very appetizing.
No, I completely agree. I'm just pulled up the bracket now just to kind of take an outside look at it. So you have, who do we think are the exploitable one seeds? Who, not even exploitable one seeds. Who are one seeds in the group that we don't consider to be strong? That's why I picked Xander to win. It's not a 72-hole cut event, so, advantage Xander Schauffele versus any other tournament. Weird format. He's playing a little bit better than I think that people realize. I think this course sets up really well for him. But with Finau, that's why I liked Herbert a little bit, though. Because Finau, Herbert, and Kanaya, I think we're just putting an X through. We're not going to take him. Watch him fucking win now. Finau, no one knows where he's at. No one has any faith in him, me included, that I don't want to pick him. And that just leaves Herbert there. That if he just beat Xander in his matchup, he probably advances.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair. And if you can narrow it down, if you're confident it's going to be a 1v1, I think if we answer the exploitable ones, you have to think but I like them. It's like Brooks and Spieth are probably the lowest of, like, if you ran odds type of thing.
Yeah, well, it would probably be Answer, but he's in with Harman, Webb, and Bubba.
Yeah.
Three guys you're like, oh God, those are three guys I was thinking about betting this week.
We haven't even talked about like Louis today and Louis's pod. I mean, that's Noren's in there, but we haven't discussed that entire pod basically at all. Neiman,
I like Connors.
I mean, you're getting some.
That's a tough pod, man.
Yeah, because you get. Let me see. So Louis, Casey, Noren. Yeah,
and you have
Connors is nice. I like that.
Well, you have Louis and Noren, who are, like, I don't want to say identical players, but similar players, and then Casey and Connors, who are super similar players. Yep,
and no one that you're blown away with. But yeah, I think Connors, and he's not. Has he had any success here before?
I can't recall whether or not he's played here before, but I know Casey has had an incredible amount of success at getting out of his group at this course. And I see Connors as kind of the new version of Casey with the way that he plays. Obviously, Casey is much better around the greens than Connors, and maybe that will come back to bite Connors like it normally does. But the ball striking every single week is exactly what you want to see. And hey, the only time that Connors ever really rolled it well was in Texas, Sky.
It's true. I'm trying to see Connors 0-3.
Sweet.
In his time here.
Good.
So, but do we think that really mattered? Like, people probably over.
I put it this way. I don't think that it matters in the context of, does that mean he's never going to win here? But you're probably not looking at Connors like stomping the competition here. And it's a super tough pod anyway. 2-1 with a tiebreak gets out of this one.
Yeah. And those playoffs, that can be some of the most stressed you get on Friday afternoon, because they don't count the head-to-head. So it's just literally one hole, and it makes or breaks your week at times.
So let's try to do this. Let's try to figure out what are the three weakest pods, what are the three strongest pods. Because I think that is one angle you can take. Like, if you're going to take a one seed, you want to target the ones that are playing the weakest ones. Or if you want to take that sleeper that no one is taking, you take the second best guy, at least in your mind, of like the Herbert. I don't think that Herbert's going to win his pod. I think that Xander's going to win. But if Xander doesn't win, you have a 3% Herbert sneaking through.
Yep.
So I think that one for sure is on the short list.
Yeah, I would say, but that's where it leads me to end up on some ones. Like, I think Billy's pod is weak, but I mean, you get Peter's tables, Minwoo. I don't know.
Listen, I'm with you. Listen, I like Hoagie. The numbers like Hoagie. If Tom Hoagie went 0-3, I'm not going to be super fucking stunned.
No, not at all. So I would think Billy gets there. And this is where the popular two seeds come out, like Lowry when you're getting there, and then you play the Rahm group.
Yeah, but I think that Lowry group is stronger because the one is a bit like weakened.
The bottom end.
But Lowry, Varner, and EVR, I think, are all viable.
Okay. Yeah. No, I don't disagree. So we're trying to find a pod that basically you can write off almost two golfers. And the only one that
or at least find one guy that you can just strike through, and then we can make it like. I kind of, you like Munoz. I kind of think that Rahm's group's the same way.
Yeah, for sure. Because you could write off.
If you write off Munoz and you write off Reed, then you got Young and Rahm.
Yep. Yep. And that's the same thing like Victor and Zalatoris. You write off Tringali, you write off Straka.
Should we be writing off Tringali and Straka, though? Are they playing good enough?
Straka played decent last week, didn't he? Or at the Players? Wasn't he like first page of the leaderboard for...
No, because he got...
Or no, yeah, he finished ninth. Straka finished ninth. Maybe we like Straka because he's got 3 top 15s in his last 4 events. I mean, Florida... But you have to go through heavy hitters. You know, that potentially the Vic Zalatoris is potentially the best 1-2 in any region.
Yeah, so that one's tough. And then
that's why it's easy to avoid that.
It's really the Horschel group and it's the Xander group. Those are the two, and the Rom group. I'd say that those are probably the 3 weakest groups.
Yeah, I think I can I can agree with you there. Spieth group might be like, I think they're similar, but they're all not that great. And if we're ruling out Rose, that would probably be my pick if I had to add one more.
Yeah, and listen, I'm going to rule out Rose. He's not going to make my player pool, but I don't think that listen, if Rose wins this, that makes sense to me.
Yeah. No, I think if you have conviction on somebody, you go with it and you hope to just get lucky. I think it was, so if I re-pulled up that tweet one more time, and it was like under 300 lineups last year after the first day were 6-0. So like, do not set your expectations high. You're just going to nail this thing.
Strongest groups. And I would say that these are the most balanced where you can realistically make a case for anyone to come out of. I'd say 2 and 15, the Morikawa and Answer group, both most definitely fit that build. The Louis group fits that build, and 3 of those groups are all in one quadrant. That's what I think that X, well, he'll be relatively popular, is pretty decent leverage because he just has the easiest path against those 3 groups. And then, like, yes, I like Morikawa the best. Yes, I like Connors the best or Webb the best, but I just feel so much better about Xander coming out of his group than any of those 3 guys.
Yeah, I don't disagree. That seems to be the clear separation. If I think a strong group, I mean, we didn't love Siwoo and Bez because of what they are, but having Berger as a 2 and Hatton as a 1, I think that's a pretty powerful punch to have a strong top-down group.
Yeah, the 13 group, Hattenberger, Siwoo, and Bez, reminds me a lot of the Louis, Casey, Connors, Noren group, where it's just like, who fucking knows?
Mm-hmm.
And then the Brooks group, I think, is sneaky balance, although it's just not the strongest overall. But I think those guys are very close to each other up and down the board. Then you have Scheffler, Fitzpatrick, Poulter, and Fleetwood, which I think is a very good group.
Yeah, I think that's a strong group. That would have been my next selection there because I like Tommy a lot. And we know Poulter lives for these type of things.
Well, I'm glad people listen to an hour of the show and they're no farther ahead than when they started.
Hey, I mean, we probably, if either of us win, we covered every golfer in the field. So like, yeah, of course we told you to play him.
Yeah, can't lose. It's perfect. But we did go through the strategy. I think that was very helpful. I'm going to really think through in even like small field tournaments, whether they be GPPs, cash games, but mainly like single entry 3 max type stuff with less than like 500 people. I might consider doing like the 3-3 versus each other and just test it out to see if it works. And people can tell me I'm an absolute moron because I'm bad at math, so maybe that doesn't work out at all. But just like you telling me the numbers, me thinking that through, I think there's something there, but you have to be able to pick the right one. Like pick the right pods next to each other. And that is a bit more difficult because there's no obvious answer. That's why I wanted to go through the weakest and the strongest. Like, because you could do it with the Xander side, but you could pick 3 guys from, you could pick 3 guys from the Connors, Casey, Oosthuizen group, and then Noren wins. And you're like, oh, great.
Yeah. No, I think that's, you basically need 2 groups neighboring each other that you say there's 0 chance this guy gets through. And yeah, maybe if you didn't want to play Bryson, okay, say you wrote off Bryson and you wrote off, that would be tough to swallow going DJ Homa, Mac Hughes, Gooch, Westwood, Bland because of like the bottom 2 there. But you can almost write off a golfer in each of those groups if you don't trust Bryson.
Or you could do,
but then that's just
all 4 of the guys from the Louis group with Herbert and Xander and leave off Finau and Kanaya.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we know it's gonna like somehow go horribly wrong. But the best way to like describe this week is it's basically the Daytona version of what golf, like the 500 for people that build that way. If you're running a cash lineup, you're just picking six drivers who are starting 30th and back, and you just pray you get 3 of them to survive the wrecks, and you're going to cash that way. So that's absolutely what you're doing, even though sometimes, there's probably going to be a golfer in the team or the driver in the team's starting position that's going to get you there. You just have to think it through and really maximize that floor.
Yeah. And I guess the one thing that if you were to like try to win a GPP with that strategy, I think you would lose too many of the opening rounds of the guaranteed holes. But if somehow Herbert won, he's going to be like 3% owned, that you would actually do really well in large scale GPPs if the right guy won at low ownership, because you'd be like one of the few people who had him.
Yeah, and what's not to say, even if you nailed 6 out of the final 8, you're going to win. But there has been lineups that get 4 out of 4 in the finals. I think this happened a couple years ago, and they still didn't stand a chance to get there on Sunday because they got golfers through that were like 2-1 or 1-1 across the board, won playoffs. Those early wins do really matter, even for guys not advancing. I mean, last year was complete chaos because barely any people got 3 of 4 in the finals because how crazy it got. So if we don't see 1 seeds getting through again, this is my last question I was going to ask is what's a proper line of 1 seeds moving on? Like what would we set it at?
4.5 over under.
Yeah, I was going to say what if you say 30% chance is a win rate of there, that gives you a 4.8, right?
Yeah.
So I think 4.5 is a very fair line.
So when I did the bracket, I have 1, 2, 3 moving on.
So you had what? Colin, Xander,
and Cantlay.
Cantlay?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty sure a couple of years ago it got like decently chalky. Rick tweeted it today.
Yeah, there was one.
There was one of them.
Yeah, I think there was 8 of 16 in 2019 ended up making it. Okay. So you
and
never know
it was
how
5, 5, 5, 1. Yeah. I mean, I hope there's just complete carnage. That's what I love.
Yeah, well, I'm here for the complete carnage. I want to be able to position myself the best way to do it, and you can too by just making life easy on yourself using fantasynational.com to generate your lineups. You can use the quadrant selector to make sure that everything works out perfectly. It's just very, very easy for you. So fantasynational.com/Mayo to get yourself 20% off. Play in the Listeners League. That's down in the description right now. And the free bracket challenge with the prizes, that's down there as well. Code MMN at fangolf.com. Wacky Valimaki for Skylar Hoke on the DP World Tour Picks and Bet Show. That's up right now. And what else you got going on the week? You're on with Jeff Ratcliffe on SiriusXM?
Yeah. Yep. So Monday afternoons, we record our DP World Tour, and then Wednesday afternoons on SiriusXM for a little preview. I guess tomorrow it'll be Tuesday afternoon with Ratcliffe for that. So yeah, you can always follow me on Twitter, ownerships. This is my favorite week to go through these tweets. I'll be updating it as much as possible with all the victories and seeing who's left standing after a crazy couple days.
The WC Dell Match Play, brought to you by Microsoft Excel. Everyone's favorite week of the year.
Amen. No, I appreciate you having me on, Pat. Love this week and best of luck to everybody.
All right, you too. And remember, once again, DP World Tour Picks and Bets on the Fantasy Sports The Mix podcast on Mayo Media Network, where you got to get like quick hitting golf, quick hitting UFC. There's a bunch of stuff up there, so I highly recommend that you go subscribe to that audio feed if that's where you want it. You can find it on Mayo Media Network. Sub to that right now. And that'll do it for me. Good luck to everyone out there. A reminder again, this starts on Wednesday, not Thursday. Keep that in mind. And I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!